Welcome, welcome to the Nerd Social Club podcast 106. Wah, wah, wah. I love the guy in Superstore who does that in the early episodes. The young lad who's going out with the girl in it. I just love him. He's amazing. Good show, good ending. Haven't really missed it. I don't know whether that's the mark of a good show or a bad show, but I haven't really missed it. But I really liked it while it was on. Instantly forgettable. Great show while it was on.
And that's the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Please get in the comments and let us know your thoughts on shows that you absolutely loved, but were instantaneously forgettable the minute you stopped watching them. Get in there and you tell us what you think. There's a lot of those shows. There's more of those shows now because of binging, I think. Because the more we binge, the things become so much more forgettable the minute you stop watching them, because your mind just doesn't take on board what's going on. That's why I like weekly shows.
I mean, that's definitely, like, you look back and think about some of the shows you start watching at the beginning of the year, and you're like, oh yeah, I did watch that this year. And you kind of think about, like, if someone said, oh, when was the last time you watched that show? You'd be like, oh, last year. Like, it all kind of blends together. It's
definitely,
it's a little messy.
It definitely does.
Like, it feels like ages since we watched Stranger Things.
It does, and you know what? I really need to go back. I've never rewatched Stranger Things, and I really need to go back and never rewatched it.
That's surprising.
I don't know why. It's just one of those shows that's like instantly amazing. But for me, it never felt like it needed a rewatch. Obviously, we've had a new trailer this week, haven't we, for Stranger Things as well? Which I'll be very honest about, right? Just like, it just was like, what's this? This is like completely not what I was expecting. Like this sort of Twilight Zone sort of classic horror trope of like father goes mental sort of thing, possessed by whatever demon.
Big creepy house.
Yeah,
the perfect family and all that.
Possessed by whatever demons being left over from whatever happened in the past. Yeah, going to be interesting where that whole thing goes. 2022, no idea when in 2022, but obviously it's Stranger Things. Can't wait. But that is a show. I'll be honest, that is a show that I would love Netflix to drop weekly, because I think
it could survive weekly. Absolutely.
Well, of course it could, and the reason why I say that more than anything else is, I like to absorb it, and I don't feel like something like Stranger Things can be absorbed just because of the pure factor of the internet spoiling it.
Yeah, here's a question, and I've been talking about this online a little bit lately, and I know it's been a conversation in the But Wilo Discord. Do you think, it's a 2-part question, do you think streamers are going to stick to either full binge or weekly, or do you think eventually they're going to start adapting it based on what show works best in that model? And do you think at some point streamers are going to start utilizing like an East Coast, primarily because that's what they do with prime time drops, so dropping a show at around like an 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the US?
I suppose the thing about the East Coast West Coast thing is, like, obviously it's completely about America, and I don't know is the answer to that question. The other question I think is more interesting is whether they will change the way they do things for certain shows. Now, there's only one problem with that, because Netflix at the moment is the only actual one that does binge. Now, everything else has gone weekly. Everything else, all the other streamers have gone weekly, and I think that's the best thing. It's almost like Netflix can't change, because it probably feels like that's our thing. But how's it ever going to know which works better if it doesn't change at some point?
Yeah.
Like, how's it ever going to have the numbers for a show on against another show? See, Netflix and all streamers are dictated by the numbers. They know what works and what doesn't work. Yeah. When things get renewed, or when things get like spin-off movies, or when Adam Sandler gets a 5 movie deal and people are like, what are you doing? It's like, well, movies sell, that's why. You get that from the numbers, but you're never going to know if you do not put shows on weekly. And I'll be honest, I think I'll be honest, we all love streamers, but there is that. I think there has to be that like halfway house as we get deeper into streamers being, as we are all cutting the cord more, as we're getting into the streamers. I mean, you have to see at the Emmys, all the awards were won by shows that are on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going now. But I think you have to just pay respect to TV a little bit by going back. And I think Netflix is the only one. So something like Stranger Things, yeah, give me the first 2 episodes. Give me the first 2 episodes like, Apple does.
Yeah.
But then do it weekly, man. Because honestly, Stranger Things, for me, is just one of those programs, like I said, that you do lose episodes because you are just trying to consume it so much so that the internet doesn't ruin it for you.
Yeah.
And I just think they have to start listening to people because that is the major thing. The internet will ruin everything for you out of spite, out of excitement, out of whatever reason, just that sense of you want to have a conversation with someone. Of course you want to have a conversation. Yeah. We see in our Discord all the time. You watch something, you want to talk to someone about it because that's actually the thing we've lost from TV is the water cooler moment the next day. Lost was like the last great one, I think. Or like 24. Oh my God, can't believe what happened in the show last night. Yeah. I know, wasn't it amazing? Like now it's like, oh, have you watched that? No. Well, when can I talk about it? Maybe never because
and it's tough as well because people binge at different speeds as well. Like so, if you drop an entire season, I know you will just like smash through something. And for me, I've got kids, so it's finding the time to get through it when I've got the kids. But it's same with other people. I know I'll chat to people like, oh, I've been doing this now, I haven't been able to get to it, and I fell behind on season 2, and blah 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 blah. Like, see, I think for me, it's going to depend, like, I think on the more popular shows, if the show supports it, a weekly one, I think will always be king in a certain way. So like a Stranger Things, Mandalorian, most of the Marvel shows in that sense. But then there's others. So, obviously you watched Foundation, right, the first episode, and we were talking about that offline. So I got the chance to review the show. Apple gave me, full access, watched it. It's a show that around the 2nd and 3rd episode, and no details, but it starts to move a little fast, and some things that happen, and it's hard to keep up with the story. And I think it's gonna lose viewers because it gets a little overcomplicated, and it does explain it, but you have to try and stick with it through the end to really get the messaging of it. Yeah. And it's tough because it's very much like Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones was a little better in that way, but Foundation, like I almost feel like you need to binge it to just get the sense of it. Not all massively popular shows. I think there's a level down where you just want to binge it. Like not everyone's going to watch certain shows and sometimes keep with it week to week.
Sometimes though, that just comes down to bad editing though. Sometimes it comes down to bad editing. It comes down to Foundation. I watched it. Foundation is like a difficult show to understand.
It's the very books high level.
Are like it was a show. It was something that was written in the 50s. It was something that was said could never be filmed simply because it's about an event that happens, and it focuses on people within a universe, and they all get a very, very small amount of times. You are experiencing what they're experiencing, but you're not actually experiencing. You're not getting to know the people. You're just experiencing what they experience.
Especially when it came to the books, from what I've read, like
that's what I'm saying. In the
books
in the
really
show's different.
Jump. Yeah.
In the show's going to be different because you have to have people that you can latch onto. You'll never watch a show where characters are not king. You'll never ever do that.
Yeah. But that's you've got to anchor it some way.
So it comes to editing for a show like that. You've got to finish at a point where you can't wait for next week, and then also like. You can, if you didn't quite get something, you can go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
So that helps. But I just think, see, the thing about all the other networks is, all the streaming sites is, they lack what Netflix has, which is a huge back catalogue of a lot of original stuff and mixed stuff. Disney Plus is getting up to it because they've got so much stuff now. It's unbelievable.
Well, especially for you guys in the UK, like you've got Disney Plus and Star, like it's Hulu combined, yeah.
Oh, it's gone nuts. It's just properly, just stuff is dropping all the time. And we're getting all the classic stuff now, the 20th Century Fox and everything, all the Fox shows. It's gone nuts. But they're still, and they've changed, what they've done is they've changed the days. They've got Wednesday releases. They've got Friday releases. They've also got some Tuesday releases of certain programs. And it's just gone nuts. But they've stuck to the weekly because at the end of the day, and this is something like we were trying to convince a friend, weren't we? We were like trying to convince Eric, about getting Apple to watch Ted Lasso.
And that's an interesting discussion as well. So let's go on, yeah.
But what's funny about getting Apple is, it's like, you convince someone to get it. You can just basically say to them, right, you might watch one show at a time, and that show be on every week. But you know what? That'll keep you entertained. That one show, and it's weird. That one show, even though it's only on weekly, you might not watch anything else the rest of the week, but you'll stick with Apple TV and they might have 4 shows, and those 4 shows will take you over like half of the year. And as long as you're like watching one show a week on Apple TV, that gets you to the half a year, and that keeps you on board. And it's the same with Disney Plus so far, especially with the Marvel stuff. You stay on board because you know every week there's something coming, and it only has to be one show. And now they've padded it out with all the movies and everything else, but you only actually need one show. Where for Netflix, it's not like that. For Netflix, it feels like there's too much coming. And I actually think with Netflix, what might get them to weekly is if they have to start slowing down bringing out content, because simple economics is they can't afford to keep just putting show after show after show. And also they've got so much back catalogue that they're going to actually start hating themselves in a weird way. I know that sounds strange, but they're going to have so much content. People are not going to have time to watch it, and they're going to just like keep expanding. And it's like, well, where does this go? You're dropping stuff every single week. Whole shows.
I was going to say they cannibalize themselves. They kind of like
exactly.
It is weird though with the Netflix, because they still manage to ride that trending train. Like, one of the things that I know has been popular, and I haven't seen it, is that Squid Game. Have you watched this on Netflix?
Yeah, I've seen the trailer. Looks immense.
And people have just been going nuts for it. And that's something Netflix always has, is that diversity of option and just weird things when they bring out, and people latch onto it. I mean, what was it last year? Yeah, last year was Tiger King. Everyone was going nuts for Tiger King and talking about it. And they still have, like, even, like, I do agree with what you're saying. They have a cavernous amount of choices. Like, you just get lost in it, don't you? Like,
exactly.
You don't know where to go. You're looking through and you're like, I don't know, like, I have no idea.
And it leads you to miss things. And I know they've changed like the platform and stuff, so it's like they have the top 10 and stuff. And I know, listen, they do bring out stuff weekly. There are things that they do bring out weekly. A lot of the time, it's stuff that maybe isn't theirs. So like, you know, I think it was like when they had the final season of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
They had the rights to it in the UK, so obviously that came out weekly. So there are things like that they do bring out weekly.
I was going to say, I wonder if that's like a European thing, because I don't know if I've seen the weekly option on Netflix in the US.
Well, there are certain things that over here, Netflix have had the rights to, that were like American shows that obviously came out weekly, so they dropped them. Obviously, they had no choice to drop them weekly.
Yeah.
And and maybe I'm old fashioned. I just think there's a nice little sweet spot of just like dropping a new show, getting everyone excited, but then at the end of the show, just pulling back on it and just going, no, you have to be here next week for that. And you can't just go and watch it all now. Because I really do think it's like you're force feeding yourself, because you know that someone is going to jump in and go, oh, guess what happens in episode 7 or something. And like, it doesn't matter how many times you get angry about it. You've got to slow down. Paddy B says Better Call Saul comes out weekly on Netflix because it's the rights.
I was just say AMC, yeah, over in the US it's AMC, but I'd be curious because like I did wonder about the viewer experience for like a Ted Lasso, the 30-minute episodes and dropping a weekly. Like, does that do a disservice to the show? Because it's a good show. You want more than 30 minutes. But that's the point, though, isn't it? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But that's the point.
What about, like, a Mythic Quest, then? It's not as popular as Ted Lasso, is it? But it's still that 30 minutes.
30 minutes keeps you coming back, rather than if you had 30-minute shows that you could just sit there and watch it all and not truly take it in and get the full experience of it. And I think 30-minute shows are like they're the most frustrating ones. I think sometimes when a show starts, drop a couple so that people can get into it.
Oh yeah,
But
like
then
two at a time or something, just to move in and
Yeah.
get the flow of what's going on. Like there's always going to be ones that like work with it. Like we're going to talk more later, like Marvel's What If, like that anthology type of show, and the fact that it's connected to such a big, large universe and it's a twist on canon that works. I think that it's good. But like a Star Wars Visions, I think dropping that whole season, I think made sense.
I've not watched that yet, but I get that because they're like short.
Yeah.
It is funny because listen, we're gonna talk about the new What If later on, just because it's penultimate one, and it actually feels like it is actually all linked together now. But I have actually watched a couple of shows recently, and I have actually watched them.
I was just saying, you make it sound like it's a surprising thing. You watch more than anyone else I know.
No, I know, but
there's
a reason.
Really?
There's a reason, though. No, but I watched them back. I actually watched them back to back, though. That's
really?
what I'm saying.
Okay.
I did. So, the morning show, we watched the whole first season in one day, right?
Good.
But the reason we did that was because the second series had started.
Yeah.
So it was a case of like catching up to everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get to that point where it was like, I'd missed the first episode, and I didn't want the first episode of season 2 ruined for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's a really good show. So obviously I wanted to watch it because I wanted to jump onto the second season. And now we're on the second season. I do have access to the entire second season because me and Aaron are lucky boys, and we get the screeners from Apple. But I've resisted, very much like I've resisted the Ted Lasso episodes, which we also get, and also because they have green screen on them, which is really annoying. Because some of them don't have special effects on, and it's really weird watching a game of football when it's
joys of screeners.
It's mad. It's a bit mad. But I watched that. I did binge the first season, so I must admit I've done that, and it is a really good show, and I enjoyed
that.
The first
I think with certain, like I said, certain things like I know me and my wife watched the Flight Attendant last year on New Year's Eve, and just smashed through that whole first, and it was just so much fun to kind of be in it and just kind of like binge through it. So that's I think all I'm saying, like with certain shows, is there's going to be certain shows that I think it's tough because you can lose some of the details week to week if you don't do like maybe recaps. But then I know some people used to get really annoyed with Game of Thrones when it would do recaps because you were like, oh, I feel like you're giving it away. You're giving hints about what's going to happen.
She put that in it.
Yeah,
but Cine Gamers has made a good reference on the chat. Thanks, Cine Gamers. He's mentioned about how even now, like, shows that go out in America are broadcast at the same time in the UK, even though it's like 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, just to make it that event, make it an event, that one-off show, so people can, talk to each other about it, so that it's not spoiled for anyone the next day and stuff like that. And again, that all plays its part in what we're talking about. But so the other show I've watched this week, which again I binged watched the first 4 episodes because I was catching up, was Only Murders in the Building. Have you seen this?
No, I've seen the trailer for it and it looks really good, and it's on my list. Like I'm getting to it.
So it's Steve Martin, Martin Short, and
Selena Gomez,
and basically they all live in this apartment, and there's a murder, and they decide they're gonna make a true murder podcast out of it. And anyone who's ever listened to a True Murder podcast kind of think it's got so many little nods and winks and even like little bits of music and stuff and that are the same. And it's just so good because Steve Martin and Martin Short are just absolutely amazing. Funny enough, Martin Short's actually in the first season of The Morning Show, and that character is just it's you gotta watch it to understand it.
It was fantastic acting, but put me off.
Yeah, it's like the dark side of Martin Short.
Absolutely.
Without him actually knowing it. But no, it's a great little show, honestly. And I watched, again, though, what I did was, because it'd been on for about 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I watched all it was like, they're like 35-minute episodes. So I literally watched all of them. And now it's back, now the weekly shows. So I must admit, I did binge that. So there are things I do binge, but it's only to catch up on. But I love the weekly. I love the
Well, I
weekly.
was going to say, I know one show you watched. We haven't had the chance to text and talk about was Why the Last Man.
Yeah, I've got that on the list. I've got that on the list right there. Why the Last Man came out only last week in the UK.
Oh, did
Came
it?
out,
Okay.
came out last Wednesday, and I think there was 3 episodes, and I watched all 3. Really interesting program. Really interesting concept. I know it's it's funny because I was talking to someone about it, and how I sold it to them, because it was like, yeah, the concept's really good. And I went, yeah, and even better, it's a comic book, a really successful comic book, so you know it's got an ending. So it's not one of these shows where it's like, oh, the concept amazing, but where's it gonna go?
Yeah,
I was like, no, it's got in it. This thing's got an ending. I said, so it's gonna be, the working off material that's already being used. So I was like, yeah, you got to get on board with it, and it's a really good.
I was going to say it's one of the things that I will always preach, and people, I'd probably get tired of me saying it, but like, you'll hear people say, oh, I'm tired of comic book movies. I'm tired of comic movies. And most of the time, what they're saying is they're tired of superhero movies. But comic books cover such a vast array of different stories, and it's literally like the same as books. It is a test ground for scripts. It is a test ground for plots. And the ones that are successful are 100% always going to get adapted. They're constantly being adapted when they have mega followings. They sell out. Like, why wouldn't you? Because it's literally you're there's no risk as long as you do it right, and you put the right people there, and you make smart choices. It'll always do well. I mean, I think that was one of the things Netflix is doing. They're adapting Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, which is a DC comic book, and that was apparently a very, very good one. But yeah, no, Why the Last Man? I think the only thing that Why the Last Man, the comic book, suffers from is it was the early 2000s, so with the topic of what they're doing. But I think the show has adapted itself well to handle some of the comic books misfortunes.
Yeah, and
so which I think
obviously
it's
all about trans and stuff like that, aren't they? What's a man and all that kind of things. No, I really like the idea of it. I know it's another. It's interesting because it's a show about a killer virus, which is always interesting when
the first episode, like man, is like.
But I really like it. I really like the concept. I'm not sure about how much they should follow the man in it, if I'm honest with you, because
the dynamic of like the groups of women are forming, and then obviously trying to maintain the current political structure and just societal structure, and how things are broken down is kind of fascinating to watch. Like the man's dead annoying. he's dead annoying.
It's interesting. He's actually played by a British actor.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, which is interesting. No, I've watched. Yeah, I think actually the 4th episode might have come out today, but I haven't had a chance to have a look. Or was it today? Yeah, today I think it might have came out. So,
I was gonna say I think over here the 5th episode is out. So I think I was part way through the 4th, so I'm gonna try and get through the rest of that this week.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching that, because it is interesting. The whole dynamic in it is and there's a lot of right wing versus left wing thing in as well. So
it's going to be interesting because eventually they're going to figure out. It's going to get out that I haven't read the comics, so I have no idea. But it's going to get out that he's the last man in some capacity, and
of course it will. For
what happens? What happens?
No, it's more about. I think it's more about that's what he's. To be honest, that's his story's less interesting than the entire story of why it happened, and the dynamics of, like, as I said, the left versus the right, and the president and the another person who's in Israel, and all these little things. There's got a lot of really good. That's what I'm saying. His story's not really that interesting, and obviously the bodyguard and stuff like that in is really interesting as well.
She's
her methods. Methods are really good, and where she came from and what she did. No, it is. It's a really good show. Just while we were talking actually about, I just remembered something I thought was quite interesting about the just about the whole thing. Because someone comments just about people talking about like the idea of community of watching shows and together and all that kind of thing. But this new thing of like, I think it's on Disney Plus. I know it's on BT Sport. I've got it as well. This idea of like you can click a button to watch something at the same time as other people.
Oh, like watch parties or whatever.
Yeah, but it's like it's actually part of the app, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Disney Plus have had it for a while. Like the watch parties.
No, I'm just saying that's an interesting development within the scope of things of this idea of now. Like I know it's probably become even bigger because of the pandemic, but it just shows you again the power of community when we're watching things and things being an event and people just wanting to react in time with other people. It goes back to my argument about why cinema will always be the king and people sit on the couch watching films are just sad, lonely people who need to go out.
Do you know,
outside.
I always think the community watch sounds fun, but I am absolutely one of those people when I'm watching something like,
I'll never do it.
I'm trying to watch, like, I'm trying to get all those details, like, what's going on?
I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to, like, go, hey, let's, I'll be like, shut up.
That's why
James is saying, apparently Netflix have that feature as well.
Oh, did not know. You learn something new every day.
Know that. Something that. Well, hang on. We'll talk about Free Guy in a little minute because we'll go into detail about that. But what has been revealed is the date of Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, coming on Disney Plus on the 29th of December. We knew it was around December. We knew it was around Christmas time, but it's a few days after Christmas, and it's so weird when Mandalorian was on last year and it was like coming soon, and it was like everyone was like, well, Mandalorian, so it'll probably be December, and like it's literally like a couple of months away now, or 3 months away. Sorry, 3 months away till we actually get it. The book of Boba Fett.
I was going to say, do you realize what's going to be on that Wednesday? It's going to be Hawkeye finale and the book of Boba Fett. Like, what a day! I didn't
even know it was a Wednesday.
What a day!
If I'm honest.
Well, that's Disney, isn't it? They're Wednesday now for their shows.
I don't know. It's Christmas. The days don't mean anything over Christmas.
Days don't mean anything since the pandemic. To be honest, time is an illusion.
Well, time's not real. Yeah. We know that. Invented by someone who made watches. To sell a watch.
The Watcher.
That's it. Well, before watches come along, can anyone prove time existed?
If it's not recorded in history, did it actually happen?
Just putting it out there. Before watches were invented, what did they do? Yes, Squire, it is 1/4 the shadow of the tree.
High noon! It's high noon!
How did they know it was high noon? It could have been
the sun.
How did they know what high noon was?
It's literally the sun in the sky.
They didn't know that was the sun. They thought that was a mythical beast. And then some guy turned up. Probably his name was Dave Swatch. His name was Dave Swatch. Good old Dave Swatch turned up and was like,
with the sundial wristwatch.
Turned up with his watch. Yeah, it was a massive sundial. It's like, lads, it's 7:15. Let's go on the air. More mead for me.
Work out.
It's mead o'clock.
It's mead o'clock.
Hot wine, yak's feet.
So, what did you think of the Mandalorian? The Book of Boba Fett poster.
There's a poster.
There's a poster. Did you not see the poster?
No one told me there was a poster.
Oh, had you killing me? Look up the poster while I ramble on. But I saw this poster and it's a badass poster. And for me, immediately looking at that, I'm thinking, all right, well, that's showing him in like Jabba's like chair, his like throne. So like,
oh, he's just sitting off in a chair.
No,
that's
I know,
not telling you anything.
Come on,
he's just sitting off in a very uncomfortable chair.
He's the boss. He's sitting there like a boss.
Yeah, all right, but I think we sort of knew that anyway.
No, I know.
That's not moving the story forward, that is it?
It's a poster.
Let's be honest. He's sitting in a chair. It's not moving the forward.
He's sitting in a chair like the Fonz.
Fonz was too busy kicking jukeboxes.
Yay!
Which he probably broke in the first place by kicking it.
Probably.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited for that one. Like it's
It's an exciting poster. He's just like sitting there in a chair.
I just can't believe. Do you think we're getting a trailer soon? If we got a poster?
Yeah, I imagine. No, would have been better if the chair had loads of blasters coming off it, like the Game of Thrones.
Like Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne.
Yeah, that'd been amazing. I mean, I'm sure someone would have got sued, but that'd have been amazing.
I mean, would it though? It's a sword throne. Like, could you? You're just doing a gun throne. Like, do they have a copyright on thrones? And could they argue it's not a throne? It's a chair.
It's just a chair, mate. It's just a chair.
It's a gun
throne.
chair. It's a gun
It's
chair.
just a chair. It's just
Back off, Warner Brothers. You don't have copyright on thrones and chairs.
Yeah. Why don't you concentrate on bringing a book out or something? No bad. No, we should do. Hopefully we'll get a trailer soon. I'm sure they'll have some kind of optics to time. It's interesting with that though, isn't it? Because it is that thing again. Like, see, I'm trying to think. Because obviously they've got no shows. Mandalorian's obviously not coming out till next year. They haven't got any shows to like. So how do you? That's an epic thing. How do you drop that? See, I don't know. I'd play it ahead of Eternals, personally. But I'd say when would be a good day to act. No. It's gonna be Disney Plus Day, isn't it? That's when they're gonna. Did you know that anyway? And you've just made me go around the houses.
Yeah.
Did you know that? And you were like, "Can I hook him? Can I get him? Have I got my big fish?" Yeah, they announced Disney. It's going to be on Disney Plus Day, isn't it? That is me coming all kinds of things in my mind.
Well, when it's high noon,
are they going to do a trailer?
And it's a mouse symbol.
Yeah, Disney Plus Day, isn't it? They're doing a special.
What's that coming up in November?
November the 12th, is it?
I think so.
2 years since the launch of Disney Plus, and obviously that's the day we get Shang-Chi on there. I mean, you might get to watch it.
It's been so long.
Shang-Chi's on there, and there's a special for Boba Fett. I think there's a Marvel. Is there a Marvel special as well on that day? I think. There's things. Something else is free on that day as well, isn't it?
Free Guy. I think Free Guy in the US probably comes that day.
Well, sir, I've got bad news for you there.
What's that?
Jungle Cruise is out on that day as well. Free is out on there, so you can watch Jungle Cruise, Shang-Chi. And there's going to be a Boba Fett trailer, I imagine, dropping on that day. Plus, it's a special, so I imagine there'll be like a featurette.
I was gonna say, be curious. Yeah. I can't. I imagine they're gonna focus more on the shows since it's Disney Plus Day, because I don't think we're gonna do any more movie trailers. There's rumors that there's a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, but that wouldn't happen on that day. So I think some of the focus we might get either a featurette or a first look at Moon Knight. Probably get a trailer, I imagine, for Miss Marvel, because that got announced as well this week. It's coming out late January 22.
I get the feeling what we'll get is like a Marvel special, and it'll just have lots of like quick clips of the things that are coming out.
Yeah.
You might have like a little bit of Thor, Love and Thunder in there as well.
See, I don't think they're going to focus on the movies because it's Disney.
No, but I think we'll have I think this is my prediction, right, is that they'll have just like a quick cut thing of like something from Thor, something from the Marvels, a bit like we got that reel last time, and it was like we had all the titles of all the movies coming up.
Okay.
And I think you'll get the TV shows, and then you'll just get like a quick hit of like Thor, Love and Thunder, the Eternals, whatever else, very, very quickly. So
I'm hoping. I mean, we get something for Andor, for the Cassian Andor show.
Yeah, well, that's wrapped, hasn't it? So you probably
that's been filming like forever and a day. Like we got
forever and ever.
Yeah, we got a feature. We got a featurette last December on Andor. So
yeah, I think that's probably is a show that has been because it was set to be made, and it was right in the pandemic that has probably been affected most because there was everything probably was relying on the entire time being under the pandemic. So that's probably suffered from that. So yeah, and you know, people coming in and out of countries and things like that. That's probably been a big part of it. So I'm sure we'll get something like that on the day itself. James says Jungle Cruise 2 announced soon. Probably, I imagine, probably announce it on that day as well.
Oh, I was going to say, it's been announced in the trade. It's happening. Like, it got greenlit.
Yeah.
So
but like, you'll get the video with The Rock coming out going.
Yeah.
You'll just be like lifting a baby or something, like or 3 babies, because one baby would be nothing to him.
Punting babies.
Yeah. What did you make of like the just while we're chatting about Disney for a minute? What did you make of, because you mentioned Spider-Man trailer? What did you make of the talk that I think it was Brendan Davis from comicbook.com saying this week that the trailer for Spider-Man is like just nonsense, as in like there's going to be so much, it doesn't tell you anything because
he said it's like super misleading, didn't he? I kind of hope that's the case. I mean, you and I have talked about this so much in the past with like Endgame and Infinity War and stuff like that. Like, I'm perfectly okay. Give me something to get hyped about, and then put me in there, and it's something completely different.
Yeah,
because Deadpool did it as well. You went in with false expectations. You're going to have X-Force. Just never happened because it keeps you on your feet. Like, I don't.
No, it does.
I do. I'm have your cake and eat it person. Like, I want to see a trailer. I love seeing everyone's deep dives into it and theories. I love it. But then when I get in there, I do want to be surprised as well. So
yeah,
if you're giving me fake content, I'm honestly okay with it.
I've seen a good little. I've seen someone talking about it this week and saying the scene with the trains.
Okay.
They reckon someone was saying that they just think that's not gonna, like, because obviously in the trailer it's like happening in a canyon.
Yeah.
And the person was just like saying that's gonna be New York, and it's gonna be a complete like it's gonna be a complete like rip off of the Spider-Man 2 scene with the train. So like, and so not to give it away, they've like put it in a canyon. And you just think, when you think about it, you're like, well, why would it be in a canyon? Like, why? What would take Spider-Man and Doctor Strange out to New York to a canyon? Like, so that's probably is one of the scenes that they've just gone.
Yeah,
we need to like throw a blanket on this. We need to like show something that's cool, but we can't show where it's happening.
Well, I mean, that's some of the thing as well, though. Like, sometimes they film stuff that they think is going to work at the time for the trailer, and it changes. Could think back to the Thor Ragnarok trailer when we first got it. It looked like Thor and Hela were in this like alleyway like or something like that. Alleyway, and she obviously smashes the hammer, and that never happened. And you learn later on that was a story they were thinking about running with Odin or something. He was going to get like the Odin power. I forget how exactly it ran out, but at the time of the trailer, that's what they were going with, and they, obviously did reshoots and changed it and all that. So that's, who knows what we had on the trailer for Spider-Man could have just been like, hey, here's some shots we have, we might not use them.
Thank God for green screen. You can just change where you are. Do anything what you want to do.
Deep fake, just not Star Wars deep fake.
No. So that's that I thought that was quite interesting. I said I hope it is. I hope you do get in there and you're just like, well, what? This is not like this is not what I was promised, which is good because
I at this point, Spider-Man No Way Home, I think promises to be, which is a shame it's releasing so late, but promised to be, I think, one of the biggest films of the year. But it does cross into that 21, 22. So, but I think that one's it's gonna be one of those ones you have to go see. Because I think otherwise it's just going to get spoiled, and it's going to be one of those films. Go watch it before it gets spoiled.
I was going to see it anyway. I'm not like one of those people who sits on couches.
You don't have to twist my arm.
I get up and I go out. That's the way it's just the way I roll. It's just the way I roll. I like to give back to my local cinema.
Hey-o.
I'm not stealing. Have you got any more from the news? Any more newsy type things you want to mention? You don't have to. I'm just saying.
Is there anything? I've got stuff.
Anything else that's
Well, I know, because I know people have been asking me about Netflix stuff. So obviously there was the Netflix To Dumb event that was held on the 25th of September. We got trailers for The Witcher Season 2, teaser for Sandman Season 1, Army of Thieves, which is the spin-off to Army of the Dead, Colin in Black and White, which is a biopic on Colin Kaepernick, Cowboy Bebop. They did the intro. That's the anime live-action adaptation. Cobra Kai Season 4, teaser. Ozark Season 4, which really didn't show anything, but they're doing that final season in a 2-part that are both coming in 2022. Red Notice, which is the Ryan Reynolds, Rock, and Gal Gadot movie, and Stranger Things Season 4, which just had us asking what the hell is still going on, because no one has any idea.
The Red Notice, that looks quite good. Looks very much a Netflix film. The rest, not too many things there. I'm not that bothered about. The Colin Kaepernick thing looks quite good. But just going back to Stranger Things, there is apparently, is there a spin-off of Stranger Things coming or something? I
would be shocked if there wasn't.
You talk of either a spin-off or almost like a spin-off within the show itself, like a spin-off story that is, this what we've just seen, which is this idea of this house, and it turns people, it's away from the traditional story, but maybe it leads into the story because there's obviously something in the house which seems to be.
I was gonna say it's got that very Overlook Hotel feel to it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's got Poltergeist and all that going for it as well. So it's and I mean, because you want to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, and as far as I'm aware, I think the Duffer Brothers do have a definitive end for Stranger Things coming up. So it's leading somewhere, and I think the most they ever wanted was 6 seasons, maybe. They didn't want to go past that. So if they've got ideas for a spin-off, I'm fine with that. I'm always good with spin-offs if there's opportunities to tell other stories in a different perspective. Cool. Go for it. I'd rather see that than force another season out of the current show.
Yeah,
it just doesn't exist.
I just feel like nobody wants to see Stranger Things go into the 90s. I just don't think anyone wants to see kids walking around with baggy jeans and stuff.
I think eventually a lot of these kids will want to go on and do other things as well. So you're not going to have them forever. Just give us an amazing final season.
The bread's buttered, though, haven't they? They've got to know that this is what made them, and for a lot of them, they haven't really done anything else. I mean, Finn Hartley has
Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard, sorry, Wolf, and Miss Brown,
MVP.
She's done stuff, but the others haven't really done anything. So they do owe this show quite a lot. And listen, they're all in. And I imagine it'll be 5 seasons because it might be interesting.
I was going to say, go on.
I was just going to say, be interesting to know whether the show its time scale has changed because of the pandemic, because those kids are aging up.
Yeah.
Have they lost a year or lost a season just because of the pandemic? It'd be interesting to know that.
Yeah, quite possibly. I was going to say, I was actually surprised. One of the girls, and I completely forget her name. But she plays Max in the show. She actually did the Fear Street movie series on Netflix as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cool. Which I was kind of surprised about that one, but she was really good in that. So if anyone hasn't seen it, I would recommend Fear Street. It's not super scary, but it's very Scream-esque. It's got those 90s vibes, which are pretty cool.
Are they not all? They all not homages to?
Yes. Yeah, because there's the first one's set in the 90s, and it's supposed to be that love letter to Scream. The second one's set in the 70s or 80s, I think, which is the camp, which is more of the Jason and all that in the woods and stuff. And then the third one goes back into the 1800s.
Someone who has done good out of Stranger Things is
David Harbour.
Joe Keery.
Oh, Joe Keery, yeah.
Who obviously appears in Free Guy.
He was very,
which
very
we've
good.
both watched. It's on Disney Plus in the UK from today. So I know it's
Just
not
add that caveat at the end.
it's in the UK. I don't. When are you guys getting it?
I think we're getting it sometime in November around that Disney Plus time.
Okay.
That's the word. I don't know.
It's just come on in the UK, and we've both watched it this week, and I just really enjoyed it. It's Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds, because that literally is the only character he plays now. He plays Ryan Reynolds.
Just turns up and beats himself.
It's just himself, isn't he? He's just himself, or the character we think he is. But I just love it. Obviously, it's got Jodie Comer in it, who obviously, local to these parts. It's got Taika Waititi in it. It's got Lil Ray
Harry.
Harry, who we last saw in Vacation Friends. And
there's a few interesting cameos there as well.
It's just a nice film that obviously, if you are aware of like the gaming world and it's got and pop culture, it's like a watered down version of Ready Player One in a very watered down version of it. But it's just a nice, funny film that that everyone who understands things at the moment in gaming and stuff can follow really easily, and it's just nice. It's just a nice, funny film. It's
light and entertaining. It's just silly. It's almost like a refresher for your palate. You know what I mean? Because there's so many other like heavy shows and stuff going on, and just something you can watch that's just silly, low investment, and you just it's good fun, good performances, and just it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just silly.
Yeah, I really like that, but obviously, they at some point someone went, "This is a Disney film now, isn't it?" And they were like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Okay, get on the phone." I really did like that. It was like, this is a Disney film. Can we not have a little play around with that? Yes, you can, and that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Well, I was gonna say, I was wondering, to be honest, if they put something behind it, because they must have seen the movie at some like its first, second, third version, whatever, and said, "Oh, this is really good, actually. Like, let's help them out," because it was a Fox property that got brought over. And after, obviously, we saw the promotion of Taika Waititi playing his core character, and obviously Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool, reacting to the Free Guy trailer, you kind of led you to believe, like, oh yeah, they're giving him some license here. They're giving him some room to play and actually market this. So I would have been shocked had there not been something in there. You know what I mean? It's just it's good. But I was... ashamed to admit it, but I was gleefully happy when those moments happened. That's all I said. I did get a little giddy because
I was just happy to see like a new property get a chance to, I know it's done really well, and it'll definitely it's obviously going to get a sequel, and there's room for it because of what happens in the film. But I just like the fact that it is this like new property, and it's it has just, as I said, just with the not the cameo that we're hitting that don't mean anything. It's not like, but it's just nice that they did lean into it. What will be interesting is if they do a Free Guy 2 and they are allowed to go and play a little bit in the sandbox and be like, because obviously when they started making it, they got this completely empty world of a game. And there are some little nods to things from other games, from real games, but without actually ever putting a label on anything. And I'll be really interested in whether they go along the lines of like, a Wreck-It Ralph or something like that, where they are already Player One, where they are allowed to go and play in that Disney sandbox.
Like where they literally open the toy box and just say, have it all. Have whatever you want, as long as you stay within a certain... Because that's the only thing, right? They're going to have to stay within a certain boundary if they want to use... Like, if you where you're going to feature a little cameo of like Toy Story or something silly like that, they're going to be like, okay, well, you can't go too violent then, you know what I mean, or something like that. So it's good to see. I mean, like I said, I think we're going to start to see more of this blending now, because we're going to have, all of the Fox properties and stuff like that start to take effect for Disney.
But I do feel like, as I said, Wreck-It Ralph, and obviously Ralph Wrecks the Internet.
Yes. Yeah.
That felt like that used a lot of that stuff really well, the different combinings, but obviously with original characters and other original characters in it. And it does feel like this could be, because sometimes you do, like, why not open the sandbox up and go, the toy box, sorry, and say, go, you can do whatever you want with these characters, as long as, because it fits into the narrative of the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, you're not borrowing those properties and going, oh, those properties now exist in this world. What you're doing is you're saying those properties are, you know what they are. Then they are, this is a game, and they're things from the outside world, and we're bringing them in here, and we're going to use them. And I do think there's a look. It'd be interesting whether how far you go with that, because you have to think about it. It's the temptation is to go too far, and then it goes, and it takes over the initial. Yeah, and then it takes over the initial concept. But there's no reason why you couldn't have, like, within that world, a playable character is this Disney character, or there's a car coming down the street and it just happens to be this vehicle from this film, or whatever. So,
it's Ryan Reynolds as well. Like, if he comes at you and he's asking you for a cameo and you're a big star, not many people are really going to turn him down for that. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
there's some. Have you seen the video? Have you seen videos from this film about, like, some of the voice cameos? There's some big names. I won't ruin it for you. There's some big names doing cameos in this film. People that Ryan Reynolds has worked with in the past and the present, that he's managed to grab for little cameos for, like, and when you find out who they are, you're like, oh my god, they're huge.
Yeah.
So I think the film had, like, this is, like, to me, this is pretty much one of the first, like, properties that has come over where Disney have gone, yeah, we can really do something with this. We can actually add an extra layer, and it'll be interesting to see if they take that even further. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's other, like, New Mutants, they tried to do something with it, even though they said that there was nothing added extra to it. But this, you can definitely see that they've gone, we can just polish this up a little bit, and give you this little bit of extra stuff, or this little extra whatever, and that'll be really interesting to see. But
that's the thing as well, like, although it doesn't change, like, the concept of the story or anything like that, it doesn't change the dynamics, but it does elevate it in a certain way, because you're looking at it, you're like, oh my god, because it is this, like, weird moment. You're like, because you're just not expecting it.
But it fits. Yeah, but it also fits. And I'll tell you why it also fits, though, is because when you see games like Fortnite, or Fortnite more than anything else, and how, because let's be honest, the whole game is based on, like, Fortnite. And when that world is always like, this week we've got this skin you can use, and it's like, oh, you got that skin, or
I was gonna say they're constantly adding ones like Rick and Morty and all sorts.
Well, it's a promotional tool for the companies, isn't it? So it's like it is based on what is actually happening in the real world. You can get skins for the likes of Fortnite now, where you can play as this character, or this person turns up, or whatever. So it does. It is like it can be done. So I think that's probably where the whole thing's going. So I really enjoyed it, and if you're in the UK, it's available now on Disney Plus.
Go watch it.
Check that out this weekend. We approve. Nerd Social Club approves. Free guy. Put that on a poster.
We need a graphic to be like, boom.
Let's talk about. Last thing we're going to talk about is What If. So if you have not watched this week's What If, then please stop listening, because we will be talking about it. So
spoilers.
I'm just gonna sit here for a couple of seconds, let you leave. Yes. Done. What if this week? Last week we had a really, like, good wholesome episode with Thor, where if Thor didn't have a brother, he comes to Earth, he has a big party that takes over the Earth, learns a couple of lessons about not being a dick.
A cosmic dick.
The watch at the end, the watch is like, everything was fine. It was like, what? And it wasn't, because Ultron walks in with a big army and with all the Infinity Stones, also in Vision's body, and it was like, oh, cliffhanger. So this week, we find out that Vision, he won. He got Vision's body. He won. He then cut Thanos in half, took all the Infinity Stones. I mean, why didn't Vision just do that? Why didn't Vision just do that? What's wrong with you? And then he basically
Vision had the conscience. Ultron doesn't.
Dick could have ended that. He gets all of the stones, destroys everything, Earth, sets all the nukes off, kills Hawkeye, or Hawkeye sort of sacrifices himself. There's literally only Black Widow left, and then goes to all the planets and blows up all the planets everywhere that we've recognized.
Even Ego
kills Ego. We see him kill the Guardians. He kills everybody, and then he's like, "I'm bored now." And the Watcher's talking, and he gets onto the Watcher talking. And he's like,
"Yeah,
who's that?" And he discovers the multiverse, and he breaks through the multiverse, and yeah, he basically wants to just destroy everything for peace, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to destroy everything for peace.
In the name of peace.
And it was dark, but it's obviously setting up a big episode next week, the final episode.
Yeah, well, it's interesting as well, isn't it? Because, like, for most of the episodes, for anyone who hasn't, read any of the comics or anything like that, we are introduced to the Watcher, and, we are perceiving the multiverse through his eyes. And it's this constant, I will not intervene in, the events of, like, the cosmic happenings of the world. And we found out now he has to. Like, now he's at a point where if he doesn't, it's the end of everything. And you can't watch, you can't watch the end of everything because there's nothing to watch. So he kind of realizes he has to intervene, otherwise it's game over, man. But it was just really interesting to see his involvement. I mean, I've read quite a few comics with the Watcher in, and he's always a fascinating character, but I have never seen him suit up and fight, which was a bloody amazing sequence between him and Ultron when he gets into his like full armor and stuff like that. But we also saw him like crashing through multiverses, and we saw brief glimpses of other worlds, one where Captain America is the president, and just really good.
That was really interesting, showing the power of the two of them and how they could both just go through the wall of the multiverses, going through walls after walls after walls. And I can't wait to watch actually a couple of videos on YouTube, the likes of Emergency Awesome and things like that. And New Rockstars, just to see if they break those down, to see what those worlds were. Yeah, because I mean, there's definitely hints. I don't know if you picked up on one. I think you definitely picked up on this one when they were first fighting in one of the first planets they crashed into, and Ultron oversizes himself, and you see him on the skyline in space, and he eats the planet. And that for me was like such a Galactus moment. Galactus, yeah.
But it also reminded me of the original Infinity Gauntlet comic. When Thanos gets it, he battles all these like cosmic beings, and he gets bored of like just being this like little person. So he turns himself into this cosmic god, and you just see him kind of like in that same way. So I thought it was kind of like a cool little, flashback to that for Ultron as well when he did it. So, but yeah, you're right. I think there's a lot in this episode that, people I think will be pulling apart little snippets here and there to see, all of those little hidden Easter eggs.
Yeah, there's so much going on, as you said. There's so much going on that you need like a real deep dive to pick it all up, and also a really good back knowledge of comics as well, just to understand maybe a lot of the worlds. I was going
to say it was interesting as well because of the reintroduction of Zola, obviously being the only other artificial intelligence that could compete with Ultron. given that we had Vision, we needed Vision to do that originally, or Jarvis essentially.
Yeah, well, Jarvis obviously we've seen sort of like the
Yeah.
demise of Tony, and Jarvis will have gone with them, and yeah, they went to Siberia. That was their mission, the Black Widow and Hawkeye, to get his consciousness. They mentioned that his other consciousness had been blown up in Captain America, Winter Soldier, and this was the last one. This is the base we saw in Winter Soldier. They went and got it. They injected his consciousness into one of Ultron's other robots. So Black Widow has that now, and that I'm sure we'll see that played out next week, because obviously at the end of the episode, the Watcher went and found the dark Stephen Strange, the dark Doctor Strange, who was sitting inside his little world, to break him out of that, and that will lead to next week, I imagine, him unifying a lot of the characters
from the previous episodes.
As Finn says in the comments, the Watcher is the Nick Fury of the multiverse, and he'll bring them all
together a team.
I think next week will probably, obviously it's the last episode, that'll probably be, I imagine, the last episode of obviously Chadwick Boseman as well. And we're gonna get a new like multiverse Avengers, or Guardians of the Multiverse, or whatever we want to. Whatever.
Well, I was gonna say, and we've seen that in the trailers as well, haven't we? When they had that like New York style moment. But it's interesting because we do see obviously Gamora, which we haven't seen Gamora to this point. So I'm wondering if there's, because I thought there was 10 episodes. I mean, I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm wondering if we get one more, a introduction to new Gamora, and then the 10th being that like finale standoff.
Maybe I was under the illusion that next week's was the last episode, but I would be happy to be wrong as well. Just to fill in a bit more of the background, but obviously because a lot of I had seen criticism of some of the episodes finishing in a way that was like, well, yeah, we sort of got half the story, and I'd seen that, and I really hope that is what that payoff will be, is that those threads will be picked up in the in the last episode or whatever it is.
I was going to say, it looks like Finn said that it was supposed to be 10, but they've moved 1 to the start of season 2, which, that's fair enough. I mean, I think some of these episodes definitely work better than others. And it seems like for everyone, they've got a different order of favorites, and what didn't work for them and what worked for them. Like, because I loved episode 3 with, what happened if the Avengers never got a chance to form. I thought it was a great episode, but I know some people just couldn't stand it. I was really surprised.
It's because they died, essentially, isn't it?
I know a lot of people loved the Killmonger episode, and I wasn't a fan. I thought it was...
I've liked all of them, because I'm a proper fan of Marvel. No, I've liked all of them. Some of them more than others, but that's all. Some of them more than others. I haven't disliked any. I
always appreciate the creative ambition behind it. To take these characters and just do something different with it.
What I really hope is that for some of the episodes that maybe people didn't appreciate, the threads of them are taken and used, because that's what Marvel have always been great of. You watch like Doctor Strange, and you're like, I don't really like it, and then you're like, but watch Doctor Strange in the Avengers, and you're like, it makes sense now. Or even Ant-Man, people are like, it's sort of like Ant-Man. It's like, Ant-Man is like, look at what's happened with Ant-Man.
Look how important it is.
And sometimes, so I hope there's threads from some of those episodes that we pick up on in those remaining in the final episode, or if we get more.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was wondering about with Zola, to be quite honest with you. Like, because they talk about it here, like, we destroyed all of your remaining units. Like, do we know they did that in the MCU for definite? Like, or is Zola still out there? Is there a potential of him? Because he does get this like artificial body in the comics, this like robotic body. So, could we see something? Because again,
no one ever dies in comics.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. He's voiced by someone who's still alive, correct? Because I always confuse him and there's another actor I always confuse together for some reason. So I couldn't remember if he was still alive or it was the other one.
No, he is, and he voiced them.
Gotcha.
He voiced them in this.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, he's still very much still.
What did you make of the Ultron voice, by the way? I've got to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it was different, but then it was because it was like coming through Vision. It was always going to be different.
Yeah.
So I had no problem with that. I think this was a real heavy episode for lack of, original actors in it. I think there was only.
Yeah.
I think there was only actually Jeremy Renner who's the original. So this one was a real like. Don't get me wrong. Last week's was just full of original actors, but this week,
distinct lack of it. So. Yeah, it's curious. Like if they had asked,
but then we got Cumberbatch at the end though. So
yeah. Well, and it was interesting. Did you notice they didn't credit him to the end? I thought that was kind of clever. Like yeah, exactly.
Ruin things.
But it was. I guess it would be interesting. I hope they would have asked James Spader if he would have come back to do the voice, or even Paul. What's his face? Who did Vision? Paul Bettany. Like if they'd had a dark version of Vision voiced by Bettany, I thought that would have been pretty cool to have. It wasn't bad voice.
But he was Jarvis though, wasn't he? That was Jarvis's voice. So I don't think Bettany would have worked because that was down to Jarvis's consciousness rather than the Vision. It was Spader's voice, but it would have been Spader's voice, but it was coming out of like a different vessel, so the voice would have been different just because of the internal workings of it. So. Yeah. So,
it was like an amalgamation of different things, wasn't it? The Vision.
I thought it was really interesting. I look forward to next week's episode to see what they come up with. So really good.
I think overall as a series, it's been just a lot of fun. And I know some people are like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. But I think it's just nice to have like a refresher and a break and just like reimagine. We can go back and revisit the movies that we love, but with a twist, and it just gives it a new level of appreciation.
Yeah, definitely. Right, just before we go, someone just mentioned something in the comments, and I wanted to just bring it up very quickly. James says the screenshot of The Last of Us got me excited this week. So obviously it was The Last of Us Day on Sunday, and it basically to commemorate the day in the game when the outbreak happens. You've never played the game, which is fine, and I tell you why it's fine. Because you get to go into this TV show completely vanilla. You get to go in there.
We were texting with Astro, wasn't he? And he was just like, I've never played this game. I feel bad or something. And I know you replied and like, hey, well now you get to watch the show. You get to experience it. So
there's no point not playing the game. No one think about the game is right. No one can ever tell you what the game is because you have to play it and feel it for yourself. I think what will happen after people watch this show is a lot of people will go and buy the game because they want to know what that feels like to experience it, and it'll go through the roof, and that's why I imagine they are making. There's a lot of talk about what they're doing with the game. They're apparently making a multiplayer version for online, but they're going to they'll make a remake of it for PS5 as well for the first one. Definitely, I imagine they'll make a remake because people will want to play because. The feeling you get playing this game is like nothing anyone I've ever experienced playing the game because it's just so emotional. And that
I need to know what happens with the giraffes. No one tell me. I've heard for the last couple of years.
And the thing about it is the thing about the giraffes is it doesn't matter what happens in the show. You'll never get the feeling of what you feel like when you play the game with the giraffes. You'll never get that unless you play the game. So it's going to be two different emotions. I'm looking forward to seeing the TV version, but I do think it'll drive so many people to just understand what it feels like to be in that world because it's just a fascinating world. And the picture was. At first, I thought the picture was the game. Honestly, it was that good.
I saw the exact same comment again and again and again all over Twitter. Like they were like, if I wasn't paying attention to it, I just thought this was sharing a shot, like a shot from the actual game, and they didn't realize it was like the live action. It also indicates they're currently filming, which is exciting.
Yeah, no, they're filming, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to see how it comes out, and Both characters from the back look perfect, so we'll see what they look like from the front. But I'm looking forward to it because it's I love it. It's such a good game. It's such.
And I was gonna say HBO's got a fantastic track record with bringing high quality shows.
Yeah, I'm so happy it's on HBO and it's going to have real quality behind it. So there you go. Big thank you to everyone for watching. If you've been watching live, commenting as well, keeping us informed on different things and keeping us, keeping your ideas coming to us. Thank you for listening if you're listening to the podcast. And we'll be back next week. Don't forget to check us out, all our socials at Nerds Social Club, and jump on our Discord as well. The invite is there. It's on the Twitter, to just come over and get it on the Discord, because obviously people, like we've been saying loads of times, people want to talk about all the things we're talking about, and Discord is a fantastic place,
especially when you're watching shows weekly.
Yeah, exactly. And when you've watched it, you can jump in on Discord. There's the spoiler free chat. Well, the spoiler tags, so that you can say whatever spoiler is, but people who aren't watching it won't see that. So honestly, it's a great community, and we're really, really proud of it. And this podcast is just something to accompany it. So, and one
quick thing as well. Coming into October, I will be doing some fundraising with Butwilo for St. Jude. We did it last year. I think I was able to raise about like $300 for kids in health need. I think it's a lot of kids who struggle with cancer and things like that. So I will be posting videos on our socials. So if you can, any bit of money will help. I'm going to be doing a disgusting jelly bean challenge for $10, and for $50 I'll let my kids shoot me with Nerf guns, and some of these Nerf guns hurt like hell. So 30 seconds is going to be quite one to deal with, but it's for charity. Dig in.
Yeah. And hopefully next week, the guys from that I've seen, but why not? They've seen Venom 2, so they're going to be telling us all about it next week. So make sure you are listening in for that. Until then, we'll catch you later. See you later.